Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Asuranandana Varjanarandana Asuranandana Varjanarandana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Yamuna Thera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Asuranandana Varjanarandana Asuranandana Varjanarandana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Yamuna Thera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridhari Asuranandana Varjanarandana Asuranandana Varjanarandana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Yamuna Thera Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, ISKCON Govardhana ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Pamanandi. All glories to Samadavodis, all glories to Samadavodis, all glories to Samadavodis, all glories to Shigo and Shiganga. Her reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadamasuna Pata Rajasaye Niriksha Drix Swastyananam Triloka Katsnayena Kadheyagatam Vidatu Havakshito Kashalam Hidyamanyata Yadamasuna Paturajasaye Nirikshadrik Swastyananam Triloka Hatsnyena Chadheyagatam Vidatu Abhagshito Koshalam Idyamanyata Yadamasuna Bhattarajasaye Nirikshadrik Swastyananam Triloka Katsnyena Chadyehagatam Vidatu Avakshito Koshalam Idyamanyata. Yet the form which Dharmasunaho of Maharaj Yudhisthira, but certainly Rajasuya in the arena of the Rajasuya sacrifice, Niriksha by observing, Drik sight, Swastyananam pleasing, Triloka the three worlds, Kachnyena in sum total, Cha thus, Adya today, Iha within the universe, Gatam surpassed, Vidatu of the Creator Brahma, Avak recent mankind, Shrito in the material world, Koshalam dexterity, Iti thus, Amanyata contemplated, Translation per Bodhisattva C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: all the demigods from the upper, lower and middle universal planetary systems assembled at the altar of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhisthira. After seeing the beautiful bodily features of Lord Krishna, they all contemplated that he was the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma, the creator of human beings. Purport. There was nothing comparable to the bodily features of Lord Krishna when he was present in this world. The most beautiful object in the material world may be compared to the blue lotus flower or the full moon in the sky, but even the lotus flower and the moon were defeated by the beauty of the bodily features of Lord Krishna. And this was certified by the demigods, the most beautiful living creatures in the universe. The demigods thought that Lord Krishna, like themselves, was also created by Lord Brahma, but in fact Brahma was created by Lord Krishna. It was not within the power of Brahma to create the transcendental beauty of the Supreme Lord. No one is the creator of Krishna, rather he is the creator of everyone. As he says in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham savasya prabhavo mata savam pravartate. I'm going to Manashagananjana Salakaya Chakshanjam Tena Tesme Shigave Namaha. So on different online forums which I participate, you get a question, well, everything in the material world has been created, so who created God? So the problem with that question is that we're trying to use material logic to understand a metaphysical or spiritual being, because if you try to use mundane logic, I'm going to take this off, it's really sticking into me. Sharp leaves. It's if you're trying to understand using material logic to understand spiritual subject matter, is just not going to work, because the whole perception and outlook, understanding, conclusion is going to be different. So we need to develop that spiritual intelligence or spiritual understanding that yes, correct, everything in the material world has been created, so therefore there is a creator, but then you have to keep it going back until you come to that personality who hasn't been created, and that person is that supreme personality of Godhead. Otherwise, how far are you going to go back? It's like a constant pursuit of evidence or conclusions. You never come to the end. If this one's been created, where you have to stop somewhere. And that original personality, that's Krishna. Of course, many people don't like to come to that conclusion. In different ways, they're trying to justify that there can't be God because God can't be created, but everything in the world is created, so therefore there's no God. So they just try to justify their conclusions with faulty logic. But so in this verse, Uddhava speaking to Vidura. So the last few verses we've had, it's been explained the incomplete understanding of different personalities in them trying to understand who that supreme personality is. And so here at the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhisthira, so many of the Devas were there, and they were overwhelmed with the beauty of Krishna, and they were appreciating that Brahma is such a perfect creator because he's been able to create such a beautiful personality as Krishna. So once again, it's faulty logic, because they're thinking we've been created by Brahma, therefore Krishna must have been created by Brahma. So there is a Sanskrit aphorism, Atmanam Manyate Jagat, that as I'm thinking, so the whole world is thinking. So because you're caught up in your own vision or perception of things, one is thinking, because I'm thinking, that therefore everybody's thinking. That's a conclusion some people may come to, without thinking perhaps there are different angles of vision or different conclusions one can come to. Therefore it's faulty logic in that sense, due to inconclusive or incomplete knowledge. Because the description is here that demigods had come down to the earth planet to witness the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Of course, Maharaj Yudhisthira wasn't just another king, he was the emperor of the world, and because the Rajasuya sacrifice was sanctifying or certifying him as the supreme emperor of the world, it was, a big event. I do remember one of the royal family got married a few years ago. I can't remember who it was, but somebody estimated that the television viewing audience was over 2 billion. 2 billion people on the planet were watching one royal couple get married. So, when somebody, the whole emperor of the world, gets installed officially in that position, it doesn't attract just people on the same planet. The Devas are coming also. It's such a significant event. So, of course, this was Dwapara Yuga. In Kali Yuga, we really don't see that. If the Devas are here, we don't have the vision to see them, but generally speaking, it's because it's such a polluted atmosphere. The Devas are not visiting in that sense. But also I've had the experience that on the street we were distributing books or Harinam, and had one young Christian man, he gave me a little flyer, said, "Here's your ticket to heaven." And I said, "So why do I want to go to heaven?" He was visibly shocked. "What? You don't want to go to heaven?" I said, so where is heaven? And he was taken aback. Perhaps he hasn't been asked that question before, and he sort of vaguely pointed up. "Well, it's up there, isn't it?" But when you really question people about this, there's very little knowledge. You could use the example that, these Christians and I guess Muslims, they don't talk about going to the same place, but essentially it is the Swargaloka. They say they're going there forever, but they know very little about this place they're going forever. And I use the example that, okay, if you're going away for a weekend, just 2 or 3 days, you know where you're going, you know where you're going to stay, you know what you're going to do, everything's organised. But here you're saying you want to go there forever, you're trying to encourage me to go forever, but you really know very little about it. What if you don't like it? You're going to a place you get stuck. And it's interesting, Bhanu Swami, he recalled the experience of, I forget his name, but he's a very well-known astral traveller. He's written many books, and there's a lot of YouTube clips about him. So, of course, astral travelling is leaving the physical body, but you remain in the subtle body. And he said this man, he described the experience of following a jiva who had left his body and was going to the heavenly realm. And his experience in the heavenly realm was that he was continually experiencing sermons in some sort of church-like facility. So over and over and over and over. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound like heaven to me. So anyway, Bhanu Swami, his conclusion of that was, be careful what you desire for, because you might get caught in a loop like that you're thinking, yes, this will be good, but maybe it won't be. Of course, so Jehovah's Witnesses, their concept of heaven is their sitting down at eternal Thanksgiving dinner, or maybe that's the Mormons, I can't remember. Sitting down at an eternal Thanksgiving dinner, and then Jesus comes in and sits down with them, and that's their concept of heaven. So whether that's in the Bible or not, I don't know. But once again, it doesn't sound the concept, something really to aspire for, to be in that situation eternally. But we know from the Vedas that, there's 14 planetary systems, and the Earth planet is basically in the middle, and above us we've got 7 other layers. And so the next layer above us is more of a subtle area that Bhutas and ghosts and different living entities live. I think the Vedas says fifth Kanda was about 800 kilometres above the Bhumandala plane. And above that is Swargaloka. So Swargaloka is that heavenly realm that a lot of these personalities are aspiring to go to. But if you ask somebody, so what is heaven is like, there's really no understanding. But when you present, well, heaven is unlimited numbers of planets, you just get a blank look, because that concept, sometimes in movies it's angels hanging around fluffy clouds or something. It's very vague and, quite sentimental, the idea. I say, well, is the moon, this Christian, is the moon, is that a heavenly planet? No, it's not a heavenly planet. No. Well, the Veda says it is. So, anyway, the point is that the concept of these other traditions is very incomplete. They're very sincere and very fixed in trying to achieve those aims, but the whole proper, full understanding of what they're trying to aspire for is not really there. But if you do Google 7 heavens in Christianity, in Buddhism and Islam, there's quite a bit of information there. So it's not in their tradition, but I guess they just haven't really pursued that understanding very much. So they're aspiring to go to that Swargaloka, but even above there's 5 other layers there. So even perfect sages and yogis, they can achieve far higher than that. And of course it's a place they want to stay forever, but we know where's the concept of staying forever in a place that's temporary? It's not going to happen. It's like these more fanatical persons saying, well, if you don't follow Jesus or you don't follow Allah, you go to hell. Okay, how long you're in hell? Are you there forever? But hell is in the material realm. How can you be forever in a place that's temporary? So, once again, it's incomplete knowledge there. So this Rajasuya sacrifice, it was basically the desire of Krishna. The whole battle of Kurukshetra, etc., to ultimately reinstall the rightful heir, Yudhisthira, on the seat of the emperor. And so with these devas, they're very overwhelmed with Krishna's beauty, so they appreciated it so much, even if they are in complete understanding who Krishna is, but they appreciate him very much. But then you have persons like Shishupal, for instance. He was just very angry and envious then when it was stated that Krishna, like the most elevated or qualified person, should receive the first offering from that Rajasuya sacrifice. So the Pandavas and others were presenting, well, Krishna is the most qualified, but then Shishupal stood up and said, no, he's not. And he gave so many different reasons why. And of course we know the history of Shishupal, that when he was born, he had, I think it was 3 eyes or 3 nipples. One had 3 of something anyway. I can't remember what it was. And there was a prophecy given that when that baby Shishupal was put on the lap of the person who would kill him, that third eye would disappear. So his mother was very anxious, I have to find the person who's destined to kill him and beg for mercy. So anyway, she would take every opportunity to put Shishupal on different people's laps. Eventually she had the opportunity to put him on Krishna's lap, and immediately that third eye disappeared. He said, "Oh, please, my son, please don't kill him." So Krishna said, "I'll only kill him if he insults me more than 100 times. So that agreement was made. So Shishupal, he was making so many insults at the Rajasuya sacrifice towards Krishna, and Krishna was just tolerating it, but on his fingers he was counting, And eventually he gets up to 100 and immediately Sudarsana chakra and took off his head. But of course, Shishupal, he was originally giant Vijay, so he was destined to be killed by Krishna, and then he would go back to his original post in the spiritual realm. But so you had the Devas. They didn't understand who Krishna was, but appreciated his beauty. You had a person like Shishupal who didn't appreciate Krishna and just wanted to insult him. So all these different personalities there are not properly understanding actually who Krishna is. And we have the story of the spiritual master of the Devas, Brihaspati. So the Devas were debating who is that supreme person, and eventually they brought it to their spiritual master Brihaspati, and they asked him, "We want you to test or to find out who is that supreme person." So Brihaspati took up that task, and first he went to Lord Brahma. And so Lord Brahma was his father. And Lord Brahma was so happy to see him. He said, "Oh, my son, my son." But Brihaspati, he just completely ignored him. And he could see that his father Brahma actually was getting very angry. He was insulted by this indifference from his son, but he kept that anger within him. And so Brihaspati will think, "I don't think this person's the supreme," because, there was some anger there, his uncontrolled senses. So then he went to see his brother, Lord Shiva, and started insulting him. That Lord Shiva was living in a crematorium, and he had covered in ashes, and had a necklace of skulls, and in so many different ways insulting him. And Lord Shiva, he became very angry and was just able to control him himself at the last minute. So Brihaspati, this is not the supreme. He also has anger. So then he went to see Lord Vishnu, and Lakshmi was massaging the feet of Lord Vishnu, and he just walked straight into his quarters and kicked Lord Vishnu on his chest. And Lord Vishnu immediately became concerned. He said, "Oh, my dear Brahmana, I hope your foot wasn't hurt by kicking my hard chest." And massaging like that. So I thought, yes, this is the supreme person. He didn't get angry because with Brahma it was just an offence in the mind. With Shiva it was an offence of speech, but with Lord Vishnu it was an offence of action, and offence of action is considered the worst activity. In Kali Yuga, just thinking bad thoughts is no reaction, but when you start speaking them, actually acting them out, then there can be some reaction. So offensive action is considered worse. But Lord Vishnu, he didn't take any offence whatsoever. Although Lakshmi, she wasn't so merciful. She became very upset that how can this so-called Brahmana come in and kick my Lord and with his feet on my Lord's chest. So she cursed the Brahmanas that may you always be poverty-stricken. So, but indirectly that's actually a blessing, because Krishna protects those who are following Brahminical lifestyle by not becoming overwhelmed with wealth and opulence. So in this way he came back and reported to the Devas that yes, Lord Vishnu was that supreme. So Prabhupada, at the end of the purport, he quotes just one verse from 10.8. So 10.8 is the first verse from the Bhagavad Gita Chaitashloki, or the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that verse, I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service, worship me with all the heart. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that in the Moksha Dharma section of Mahabharata, Krishna says, the patriarch Shiva and others are created by me, although they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my spiritual energy. In the Vraha Purana, it's also said that Narayan is the Supreme Personality Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, and from whom Shiva was born. So originally there was only Vishnu, and at the time of creation all these different personalities are coming. So as Krishna says, or Prabhupada comments, quoting from the Mahabharata, Krishna speaking that they don't know who I actually am, they don't know who created them because they are deluded by illusory energy. So according to their mood and their sort of spiritual platform, realization that they're on, they're only able to perceive a certain level of understanding. So even the devas are deluded by material energy in one sense or another. So there's all these personalities who are aspiring to go to heaven, and if you tell them that, okay, you want to go to heaven, why do you want to go to a minimum security prison? And they just don't understand the point I'm trying to make. So at the moment you're living in maximum security. Actually it's probably medium security. You have a little bit of free will, but from here you want to go to minimum security. The point is you're still in jail. But this sort of analogy is lost on a lot of people because they just think heaven is the ultimate. Everything is complete and perfect there. So to aspire for these realms is better than not aspiring at all. You know, on the yoga ladder, you have the karma kandis, the karma yogis, gnana yogis, astanga yogis, etc. So these are all transcendentalists in one sense, that they're trying to lift themselves up from their present position. Prabhupada describes it different ways, different ways in different places. One class he said first class transcendentalist, second class, third class. Another class he said first class rascals, second class rascals, third class rascals. Basically because they're not aspiring for the upmost, the topmost. But nevertheless, the transcendental position. So to aspire for heavenly realm or to worship the demigods, better than nothing at all. But still, you can always go further. In Bhagavatam 6:16-38, we hear that, O Lord, O Supreme, unintelligent persons who thirst for sense enjoyment and who worship various demigods are no better than animals in the human form of life. Because of their animalistic propensities, they fail to worship your lordship, and instead they worship the insignificant demigods, who are but small sparks of your glory. With the destruction of the entire universe, including the demigods, the benedictions received from the demigods also vanish, just like the nobility when a king is no longer in power. So, even though we hear that better to worship the demigods, in a sense it's, in this verse, considered still animalistic propensities, because basically from the demigods, it's almost like Prabhupada did describe that worshipping demigods is like trying to bribe one of the ministers. Instead of going to the king or the president, to prime minister to present your petition, you just go in the back door and try to bribe one of the ministers. So it's a little bit like that you're trying to get some sort of black market benefit rather, and ultimately whatever the demigod can give is coming from Krishna himself. So, the king, the devas, they're only as powerful as Krishna allows them to be. In Madhya Leela 19.149, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakala Ashanta. That because the devotee Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment, Gyanis desire liberation, Yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they're all lusty and cannot be peaceful. So when you have material desires, you can succumb to that. They can burn like fire. But one becomes the shanta, or the desireless, becomes peaceful. Always comes to mind that, don't know who originally sang this song, but Janis Joplin was famous, that Me and Bobby McGee song, and that line that freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. So you haven't got desires, you don't have much material facility, you're not going to be anxiety that you're going to lose them. Whereas a very wealthy person, they may appear to be enjoying in so much, but there's so much anxiety that what if somebody takes this from me? Or that at the end of my life, I'm going to have to leave everything behind. How is that possible? I can't do that. Therefore, they try to make all sorts of artificial arrangements to stop that happening. But of course, in the end, we have to go. In Madhya Leela 22:35, these same words, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Subhuddhi Yadi Haya Gada Bhakti Yoga Taba Krishnara Bhajaya. Due to bad association, the living entity desires material happiness, liberation, or merging into the impersonal aspect of the Lord, or he engages in mystic yoga for material power. If such a person actually becomes intelligent, he takes the Krishna consciousness by engaging himself in intense devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna. So this is the ultimate goal for a bhakti yogi, that rather than try to remain in the material world or promote oneself to higher realms, to get out of the material realm altogether. And so we can only do that once we develop the knowledge that there is a higher spiritual realm to start with. It's not going to be so much, motivation to try to get to a higher realm without understanding that there is one. But once we get some sort of understanding how to do that, and ultimately, by approaching Krishna's lotus feet, developing love for him through daily sadhana, ultimately we can come to him. We know that he says in Bhagavad Gita that whatever one thinking at the time of death, whatever state one is in at the time of death, that state he will attain without fail. So whatever thing at the time of death is going to influence our next destination, but of course what we're thinking of at that time is a culmination of everything we've done throughout our lifetime. It's not that somebody who does nothing, like a student does nothing throughout the year and thinking I'm going to pass this final end of year test with flying colours. It's not going to happen. The result of his test is going to be reflected on how much they work throughout the year. So similarly, our whole lifetime should be considered a period for preparation, so that at the time of death, that's our final examination. Like Prabhupada told his disciples just at the time, just before he left his body, that this is the final lesson. This is the final lesson. So after this, I've got nothing else to teach you. I've taught you everything. Everything is there in my books. And now he was leaving in a perfect state of consciousness in the holy Dame Vrindavan. So he was giving us the final lesson. This is how to leave in a perfect Krishna consciousness. So as the chapter goes on, we hear Uddhava describing different personalities and how they're not incomplete or they have a incorrect understanding of who that Supreme Personality is. So it's quite instructive that it's only basically due to knowledge, and one of the verses was due to misfortune. These persons don't understand who Krishna is. But so we can change that misfortune by engaging in devotional service, and Krishna will impart knowledge unto us according to our desire. So, thank you very much. We'll end there if there's any questions or comments. Yes, Maggie.
Thank you for the class, prabhu. With the planetary systems X5 do you have a material body, or is it just purely spiritual?
It's a material body. If you're in the material world, you have a material body, but my understanding becomes more subtle. The understanding of Lord Brahma, he's completely subtle body, subtle elements. But on this earth planet, because it's a gross earthly planet, our bodies are made of gross earthly matter. But the higher up we go, the more ethereal or the more subtle they become. But exactly how to understand that, I'm not sure, but that's the explanation that I've heard. Yeah.
And so when you're in the spiritual sky, then even the subtle body disappears.
Yes, yeah, that subtle means material, mind, intelligence, false ego. So in the spiritual realm, it's just eternality, bliss and knowledge. That's the body is made up from. And even super soul is not with us anymore, no longer required. Yeah. So that's the goal we're trying to achieve. So, it's understood that the spiritual body is there, like as the jiva, the spiritual body is there, but it's just covered over by matter. But as we become more purified and ultimately liberated from this material realm, then that matter dissipates and it's just the pure spiritual energy remains. Anything else? Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.